The problem is simple: you live under the false belief that people love you. But Niccolò Machiavelli will tell you, their love is a costume, their loyalty a mask, and their hatred the only truth. If you wish to rule, to lead, to live without being destroyed by envy, you must learn why you are hated, and how to use it as your weapon. In this world, you walk among smiles and nods, believing in friendship and goodwill. Yet behind the curtain of courtesy lies a darker truth: they despise you. Every man is a wolf to another, and hatred is the currency of survival. Today, we strip away illusions and ask, why does everyone secretly hate you? Imagine this: you walk into a room full of people who smile, who nod, who greet you as if you are the most welcome soul in the world. But within each one of them, behind their eyes, something else stirs. It is not love. It is not loyalty, it is not even admiration. It is fear, it is ambition. This, my friends, is the true face of human nature. Men and women, no matter how refined their manners, no matter how polished their words, act from one singular impulse: their own interest. If you believe otherwise, you are already lost, for you have stepped into the game without knowing the rules. When you succeed, when you rise above, when you claim something others could not, they will hate you for it. They may clap at your victories, but each clap is hollow, a disguise to conceal the bitterness of their defeat. The applause is not for your achievement, it is a shield to mask their resentment. They ask, why him? Why her? Why not me? Every time you grow stronger, richer, more confident, they feel smaller in your presence, and men cannot forgive you for reminding them of their own weakness. Do not be deceived by their honeyed words. The friend who praises your success today may secretly pray for your downfall tomorrow. The neighbor who admires your fortune envies you more than he admits, and even the ally who fights by your side dreams of the day he might take your place. To expect men to love you without condition is to expect the wolf to eat grass or the hawk to ignore the rabbit. It will never happen. Hatred is not an accident born in extraordinary times. Hatred is the natural state of mankind when confronted with the success of others. You see, men are not born with a generous heart. They are born with desire. Every man desires more wealth, more power, more recognition. And if you stand in the way of that desire, even by your mere existence, he will despise you. If you are richer, you insult the poor without saying a word. If you are stronger, you remind the weak of their fragility. If you are wiser, you humiliate the fool even when you speak kindly. Your excellence itself is the offense, and for this, men will hate you silently, secretly, endlessly. Look at history, and you will see this truth repeated again and again. The great are never loved without condition. Caesar was hated by the Senate not because he was weak, but because he was powerful. Alexander was envied not because he failed, but because he succeeded too greatly. Even the prophets, the men of virtue and vision, were despised not because they were wicked, but because their greatness exposed the pettiness of others. If the most extraordinary men in history were hated, what makes you believe you are spared? Understand this: men's hearts are governed not by gratitude, but by gain. They love you when you serve them, when you bend to their needs, when your presence adds value to their lives. But the moment you are no longer useful, the moment you no longer provide what they desire, their love vanishes like smoke in the wind. Gratitude does not last. It is drowned by the tide of new desires, new fears, new ambitions. Hatred, however, is constant. It lurks in the shadows of envy, waiting for its moment to rise. And here lies the cruel irony. Even if you do everything right, even if you are fair, generous, and kind, hatred will still cling to you. Why? Because your kindness itself becomes a weapon. The man you help begins to feel small compared to you. The hand that gives is always above the hand that receives, and men resent being beneath another. So even in charity, you will find hatred. Even in fairness, you will discover resentment. The more you shine, the more their shadows deepen, and the darker their hearts grow against you. This is why I tell you, do not be surprised when you feel the sting of hidden contempt. Do not be shocked when those who once smiled reveal their fangs. It is not betrayal, It is not an exception. It is the natural law of mankind. They act not from love, but from self-interest. And when your success threatens their pride, when your confidence diminishes their value, when your ambition outruns their own, they will despise you for it. They may not say it aloud, they may not act upon it at once, but the hatred is there, simmering, waiting, feeding upon itself. The man who understands this truth will never be blindsided. He will know that every compliment is painted with envy, every handshake hides calculation, and every ally carries within him the seed of hatred, ready to sprout when the soil of opportunity is ripe. Human nature cannot be trusted to love without motive. It can only be relied upon to serve its own ends. And when your existence disrupts those ends, you will see the true face of men. Look closely at the people around you, those who call themselves your friends, your companions, even your allies. They laugh with you. They toast your victories. They pat your back with warm hands and speak words dipped in honey. But what you must understand is that these gestures are not always born from loyalty. They are masks, crafted carefully to hide what truly lies within their hearts. For behind every smile may linger envy, and beneath every handshake may fester resentment. This is the great deception of human nature. Men rarely show their true feelings. To live in society, they wear masks, masks of friendship, masks of respect, masks of devotion. They must, for open hatred is too dangerous, too costly, too revealing. If your so-called friend despises you, if he resents your power or envies your fortune, he will not announce it. No, he will conceal it beneath the mask of civility, for he knows that to strike openly is to risk ruin. The dagger is not waved in the sunlight. It is hidden beneath the cloak, waiting for the right moment to pierce. Think of the man who showers you with compliments. Does he praise you because he loves you? Or does he praise you to disguise the bitterness that gnaws at him each time you succeed? His words are not a mirror of truth, but a smokescreen of strategy. Men flatter those they secretly envy, for flattery buys them proximity, and proximity buys them opportunity. By appearing to love you, they protect themselves from suspicion, all the while nursing the hatred that grows in silence. And what of the friend who rushes to celebrate your victories? Consider him carefully. For while he raises his glass and proclaims joy for your fortune, within his heart he counts what he has lost. Your rise is his fall. Your brightness dims his light. Every step you climb upon the ladder of success pushes him further into shadow. Do you think he does not feel it? Do you think he does not notice the weight of comparison pressing against his pride? He will not say it aloud, but his silence after the applause, his thoughts in the dark, reveal his true nature. Men do not hate only their enemies. They often hate their companions more, for their companions are close enough to remind them daily of what they lack. A stranger's wealth or strength is easier to bear, for it is distant, abstract, almost unreal. But the success of a friend, the fortune of a neighbor, the power of a colleague, these are like knives pressing against the skin. The proximity of another's greatness makes men restless, and restlessness feeds into resentment. So, they smile, they nod, they embrace, but behind the mask their hearts burn. This is why you must not take friendship at face value. Words of loyalty mean little, for loyalty is often a performance. Men act out the role of devotion because it suits their needs. They say, "I am with you," because it gives them shelter, protection, or advantage. But in their secret thoughts, they imagine how they might surpass you, how they might inherit your place, how they might rise should you fall. Friendship is too often a mask worn to conceal ambition. Consider the courtier who kneels before the prince, proclaiming eternal service. Does he do so out of love? No. He kneels because the prince holds power, and proximity to power is profitable. But the same courtier, if the prince were stripped of his throne, would not kneel at all. He would turn his devotion elsewhere, to the rising star, to the new master. What was once loyalty would dissolve like mist in the sun. So it is with every man who claims friendship. They love not you, but what they gain by standing beside you. Even in moments of intimacy, when secrets are shared and bonds seem unbreakable, beware. For the man who knows your secrets holds a weapon, and men cannot resist the temptation to wield it when it serves their interest. What you confess in trust today may be used against you tomorrow, when ambition outweighs affection. The mask of friendship is not only a disguise of words but a tool, a strategy to gather knowledge, to gather power, to prepare for the moment when betrayal becomes convenient. Do not think this is cynicism, for it is history itself that proves the point. How many kings were betrayed not by their enemies, but by their closest companions? How many generals were abandoned by those they once called brothers? How many great men fell, not by the sword of an enemy, but by the hand of a friend? The truth is bitter, but it cannot be denied. Those who stand nearest to you, those who embrace you the tightest, are often the very ones who secretly plot your downfall. The mask of friendship is necessary because open hatred reveals too much, too soon. So men hide behind courtesy, behind civility, behind the theater of loyalty. They say what you wish to hear, they act as you wish them to act, all the while guarding their true feelings like a soldier hides his blade beneath his cloak. And if you do not see this, if you trust too easily in the masks they wear, then you will be destroyed not by your enemies, but by those who pretended to love you most. Power is a fire. It warms you, it lights your path, it protects you from the cold, but to everyone else who cannot touch it, it burns their eyes and scorches their pride. When you hold power, when you possess wealth, status, beauty, or influence, you awaken a force in others that is more dangerous than open hostility, resentment. This resentment grows not because you wronged them, but because your very existence reminds them of what they lack. Think of the man who sees you command respect. He may bow his head, he may act submissive, but inside, he feels the weight of humiliation. Why does the world bend for you and not for him? Why do men listen when you speak, while his voice drowns in the noise? He cannot accept that you are above him, so his heart twists with silent hatred. He will never show this openly, for to oppose you outright might be ruin, but in the privacy of his thoughts, he resents you with every breath. Understand this: the higher you rise, the more enemies you create, not because you have harmed them directly, but because you expose them. Your wealth highlights their poverty. Your influence reminds them of their obscurity. Your confidence magnifies their insecurity. The crown on your head is not only a symbol of your triumph, it is a mirror that reflects their failures back to them. And men cannot forgive those who force them to see their own weakness. Even if you distribute your power with generosity, resentment will still follow. If you give wealth, those who did not receive enough will curse you in silence. If you grant favors, those excluded will despise you. If you raise one man above the others, the rest will whisper in jealousy. No matter how carefully you balance the scales, resentment clings to power like a shadow. For power, by its nature, cannot be shared equally, and inequality is the seed from which hatred grows. History itself testifies to this truth. The great rulers were not hated for their cruelty alone, but for their success, their dominion, their ability to rise above the masses. Consider Caesar, who returned to Rome with glory unmatched. The people cheered, but the senators seethed. They cloaked their resentment in the language of justice, but beneath it lay envy, fear, and humiliation. His greatness was their insult, and they chose daggers over submission. Consider Napoleon, admired for his brilliance, yet despised by kings who could not rival his genius. His victories were not celebrated by his peers, but cursed, for each triumph diminished their worth. And it is not only kings and emperors who suffer this fate. In every walk of life, the powerful draw resentment. The successful merchant is hated by his competitors, who wither in his shadow. The beautiful woman is envied by those who cannot match her radiance. The eloquent speaker is loathed by those whose words fall flat. Power is not only crowns and armies, it is any advantage that elevates one man above another, and wherever that advantage exists, resentment follows like a faithful servant. This is why the powerful must never be gnawed. If you think admiration is pure, you misunderstand men. Admiration is often admiration poisoned with envy. Praise may sound sweet, but beneath it lies bitterness. They may cheer for your victories, but in their hearts, they long for your defeat, because your triumph is their humiliation. And the more you rise, the deeper that resentment grows. The paradox of power is this: men desire it desperately, yet they despise those who possess it. They will bow to your authority because they must, not because they wish to. They will follow your command out of necessity, not devotion. Their obedience is not a gift of love, but a survival instinct. And the moment they feel strong enough to challenge you, the mask of loyalty will shatter, revealing the resentment that has been there all along. This is why those who rule must be wary not of their declared enemies, but of their closest subjects. The enemy outside your walls hates you openly and can be confronted. The subjects within your reach, the companions who smile and flatter, carry resentment in silence, and silence is far more dangerous. A man who resents you waits, studies, calculates. He hides his intentions until the moment arrives when your guard is lowered, and then he strikes. Even in small matters, resentment is inevitable. The student who excels is despised by his classmates. The worker who is promoted is whispered about by his peers. The leader who earns trust is undermined by his rivals. Every advantage breeds envy, and envy ripens into hatred. This cannot be prevented, only managed. For to have power is to invite resentment, and to pretend otherwise is to walk blindfolded into ruin. So when you rise, when you claim what others cannot, know that their hearts are turning against you even as their mouths praise you. Their clapping hands conceal clenched fists. Their bows conceal curses. Their smiles conceal teeth sharpened with jealousy. Power is the throne upon which resentment kneels, and though it kneels, it never forgets, it never forgives, it never ceases to grow. When a man holds power, he must ask himself a question older than kingdoms and sharper than the blade of any sword. Is it better to be loved or to be feared? Many rulers, many leaders, many ordinary men cling to the idea that love is enough, that affection and loyalty born from warmth will bind others to them forever. But love is a fragile bond. It breaks when tested, it fades when no longer useful, it withers in the face of ambition. Fear, however, fear endures. Fear compels obedience even when love has long evaporated, and yet, there is a dangerous balance to maintain, for hatred is born when fear is not tempered with wisdom. Think of those who claim to love you. Their love is conditional. They love you when you serve them, when you give them what they desire, when your presence benefits their lives. But remove those benefits, deny them their comforts, and watch how quickly love turns to bitterness. Gratitude is short, lived in the hearts of men. 1,000 favors can be forgotten the moment one request is denied. Love is dependent on pleasure, and pleasure is fleeting. You cannot build your survival upon such an unsteady foundation. Fear, on the other hand, requires no constant gifts, no endless acts of generosity. Fear lives in the mind, it roots itself in the heart, and it does not fade with passing whims. The man who fears you obeys not because he wishes to, but because he dares not do otherwise. He measures every step, every word, knowing the cost of defiance. Fear is the chain that binds loyalty when affection fails. It is the weapon that ensures obedience even when admiration is absent. Yet, you must understand this: fear alone is not enough. If a man fears you without respecting you, his fear will fester into hatred, and hatred seeks revenge. If a ruler rules by cruelty alone, he sharpens daggers against his back. But if fear is joined with awe, with the respect of strength, then hatred cannot easily strike. A wise man ensures that he is feared in such a way that men respect his power, but not despise his rule. For when men fear your strength, they hesitate. When they hate your cruelty, they conspire. Consider the prince who rules by love alone. He is generous, merciful, beloved by his subjects. But when a rival appears, when fortune turns against him, his subjects scatter. Love will not save him when danger comes, for love does not carry the weight of sacrifice. Men will cheer for him in peace, but abandon him in war. They will sing his praises when the sun shines, but leave him to die when storms break. To be loved is pleasant, but to be feared is necessary. And yet, there is a subtle art in cultivating fear. You must not be careless, for excessive cruelty breeds rebellion. Men must not be driven to despair, for despair gives birth to desperate courage. The wise ruler strikes carefully, punishes decisively, but does not torment endlessly. He ensures that fear remains a constant presence, but not an unbearable burden. Like a shadow, it must follow every man, reminding him of the consequences of disobedience, without consuming him entirely. Look at history, and you will see this principle carved into its bones. Leaders who sought only to be loved often fell, betrayed by those who once swore devotion. Leaders who inspired fear, balanced with respect, endured longer, for their enemies hesitated, and their subjects obeyed even when affection was absent. Men may admire kindness, but they bow before power. They may smile at love, but they tremble at fear, and trembling is far stronger than smiling when survival is at stake. Even in the smallest circles of life, the truth is the same. A father who seeks only love from his children risks losing their respect. A teacher who relies only on kindness risks losing control of his students. A leader who demands only affection risks being mocked behind his back. But the one who commands respect through firmness, through discipline, through the careful balance of fear, secures authority that love alone could never grant. For love is optional, but fear is unavoidable. Men are fickle in their affections, but steadfast in their fears. They may forget your kindness, but they will not forget your strength. They may betray a man they love if it serves their interest, but they will hesitate to betray a man they fear, for the cost is too high. This is the reality of human nature. Love is a luxury. Fear is a necessity. A wise man does not reject love when it comes, but he does not rely on it. He builds his foundation on fear, and if love is added, it is a decoration, not the cornerstone. So when you rise, when you lead, when you hold authority, do not ask whether men love you. Ask whether they fear to cross you. Do not waste your strength chasing the fleeting affections of the crowd, for the crowd will turn against you as quickly as the wind changes. Instead, anchor yourself in the one force that endures beyond desire and beyond gratitude, the power of fear. You said, no matter how virtuous you believe yourself to be, no matter how carefully you tread, you cannot escape the fate of being hated. To exist with strength, with ambition, with vision, is to summon enemies from the shadows. You may strive to live in peace. You may strive to live in fairness, but hatred does not vanish simply because you choose kindness. Hatred is not always the child of cruelty. More often, it is the price of significance. If you are nothing, you are ignored. If you are something, you are despised. This is the law that no man escapes. Consider the man who strives for goodness, who speaks with honesty, who acts with justice. You might think such a man would be free of enemies, loved for his purity, admired for his fairness. But what is the truth? The corrupt hate him for exposing their corruption. The liars hate him for reminding them of their deceit. The unjust hate him because his fairness condemns their theft. His very virtue creates opposition, for it shines a light that forces others to see their darkness. A man of virtue is hated by the wicked, just as a man of wickedness is hated by the virtuous. No man can walk the earth without being despised by one side or another. And what of the man who seeks greatness? The ambitious, the strong, the successful. His enemies multiply with every step he climbs. Those beneath him envy his fortune. Those beside him resent his progress. Those above him fear his rise. The higher he ascends, the more arrows are aimed at his back. Success is not a shield. It is a beacon that calls hatred from every corner. If he remains weak, if he becomes strong, men despise him. To move at all is to stir opposition. To stand out is to invite hatred. Even silence, even withdrawal, does not protect a man from enemies. For if you speak little, they will call you proud. If you live humbly, they will call you false. If you keep to yourself, they will call you secretive, untrustworthy, perhaps even dangerous. Men invent reasons to despise those they cannot control, and if no reason is found, they will create one. Hatred requires little justification. It grows from the soil of envy, of fear, of suspicion, and these elements never run dry. Do not think that hatred is merely personal. Entire nations, entire groups, entire movements are built on hatred of the other. To be part of one side is to be hated by another. To declare loyalty is to declare enmity. Even neutrality breeds contempt, for men hate those who refuse to choose, those who stand in the middle as though untouchable. To live among men is to be marked by opposition, whether you wish it or not. You may hide, but you cannot erase the lines that hatred draws around you. This is why it is foolish to chase universal love. It does not exist. The man who tries to please all pleases none. The ruler who seeks to satisfy every subject ends up despised by all, for in giving something to one, he must take something from another. The friend who tries to agree with every companion ends up trusted by no one, for his words shift like sand. Love cannot be universal, but hatred is eternal. The wise man accepts this and does not exhaust himself trying to escape it. Enemies, therefore, are not a curse but a necessity. They are the proof that you matter, the proof that you have weight in the world. The man without enemies is the man without influence, the man so insignificant that no one cares enough to oppose him. To be hated is to be visible, to be envied, to be feared. Hatred is the shadow that follows greatness, and if greatness is your aim, you must learn to carry its shadow without trembling. Think again of history. Every figure of importance carried enemies with them like a second cloak. Caesar, betrayed by men he once trusted. Socrates, condemned by those who could not bear his wisdom. Christ himself, despised by those whose authority he challenged. These men were not hated because they were weak. They were hated because they were strong, because their words and actions shook the foundations upon which others stood. Their enemies were inevitable, because their influence was inescapable, and so it is with you. Whether you rise through power, or virtue, or ambition, hatred will cling to you. It will not always roar in the open. Often it whispers in the dark, waits in silence, wears the mask of friendship until the moment of betrayal arrives. But it is always there, circling you, testing you, feeding upon your presence. You may not see it, you may not feel it at first, but hatred is patient. It waits for the right hour. The wise man does not waste his life wishing to be free of enemies. He does not dream of universal love, for he knows it is an illusion. Instead, he studies his enemies, measures their strength, and learns to bend hatred into a weapon. For to be hated is to be alive in the eyes of others, and to be alive in their eyes is to hold power. Hatred is inevitable, but inevitability need not be your ruin. It is the recognition that you cannot escape it that makes you stronger than those who still dream of being loved by all. So now you see the truth laid bare. Men are not bound to you by love, but by their own desires. They smile through masks, they resent your power, they envy your success, and they cannot help but hate you. To rise in this world is to summon enemies, and to seek universal affection is to chase a shadow that does not exist. But hatred is not your downfall unless you let it be. Hatred is proof that you matter, proof that you disturb the comfort of others, proof that you stand above the crowd. Do not fear it. Do not flee from it. Accept it as the natural price of influence. For in the end, it is not love that keeps you safe, nor kindness that secures your place, but the strength to master hatred, to recognize it, to endure it, and to wield it as the very measure of your power.